The Stuck Syndrome. Why You Feel Trapped and How to Break Free. Written by Ronnie Rowland, published by Growth Literacy Lounge. You know the feeling. You wake up knowing something needs to change, but you don't know where to start. Days blur into weeks, weeks stretch into months, and before you know it, you're trapped in the same cycle, overthinking, hesitating, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. You tell yourself you'll move forward when you feel ready, when you have more time, when the path ahead is clearer. But the truth is, clarity and confidence don't come before action, they come because of it. Feeling stuck isn't just frustrating, it's a psychological loop. Fear, doubt, and hesitation keep you in place. You analyze every possibility, anticipate failure before you even begin, and convince yourself that staying where you are is safer than stepping into the unknown. But the real danger isn't failure, it's stagnation. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to break free. The good news? Being stuck is not permanent. It's a pattern, and like any pattern, it can be disrupted. This book is not about waiting for motivation. It's about rewiring your mind for action. You will learn why fear holds you back, how to stop overthinking, and how to shift from hesitation to momentum. You will discover practical, no-excuse strategies that force movement, small, immediate actions that create lasting change. You don't need permission to take control of your life. You don't need the perfect plan. You only need the willingness to start. The process begins now. The only way to break free is to move forward, one step at a time. Chapter 1. Understanding the Stuck Syndrome. Feeling stuck isn't just an emotion, it's a mental gridlock that infiltrates every corner of life. You wake up knowing something needs to change, yet every attempt to move forward feels like running in place. It's not about laziness or a lack of ambition. It's the result of an unseen force anchoring you in place, trapping you in a loop of overthinking and inaction. The more you analyze why you're stuck, the tighter the grip becomes. It doesn't happen all at once. At first it's subtle. A bit of procrastination, a twinge of self-doubt, a growing sense that no option feels quite right. You brush it off, believing it's temporary, but hesitation slowly solidifies into a pattern. You start bargaining with yourself. I'll take action when the right opportunity comes, when I feel motivated, when I have absolute clarity. But those moments never arrive, because stagnation feeds itself. The longer you stay stuck, the more impossible it seems to break free. This cycle isn't just psychological, it's neurological. Your brain is wired for efficiency, and once a habit of inaction takes hold, it becomes the default. The mind, built to protect you, starts interpreting change as a threat. It doesn't matter if the current situation is unfulfilling, at least it's familiar. Change, on the other hand, is unpredictable, and to your brain, unpredictable often means dangerous. That's why stepping forward, whether it's switching careers, ending a toxic relationship, or making a tough decision, feels so daunting. At the core of this paralysis are three powerful psychological traps: fear of failure, lack of clarity, and the deceptive comfort of the familiar. Fear of failure is the most obvious culprit. Your mind magnifies every possible negative outcome, convincing you that any wrong move could lead to disaster. You become locked in analysis paralysis, endlessly weighing the risks but never taking action. And here's the irony: by avoiding failure, you create the very failure you fear, because nothing happens at all. Then there's lack of clarity. You might feel the urge to move forward, but without a clear destination, every possible path seems overwhelming. Instead of choosing, you wait, believing that once you figure it all out, taking action will feel effortless. But clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from doing. The longer you stand still, the foggier the road ahead becomes. Finally, there's comfort, the most deceptive trap of all. Even when life feels unfulfilling, at least you know what to expect. The idea of change introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty feels uncomfortable. So you convince yourself it's better to stay put, to endure the job that drains you, the relationship that stifles you, the habits that no longer serve you. Not because you truly believe it's the best choice, but because the unknown feels riskier than the familiar. But here's the truth: being stuck isn't a permanent state. It's a pattern, a mental loop that can be disrupted. And breaking free doesn't require a grand, life-altering decision. It starts with movement, no matter how small. A single step forward is enough to shift the momentum. Progress isn't about knowing exactly where you're going. It's about being willing to take action even when the path isn't clear. The first step is recognizing the cycle, seeing it for what it is. Because once you understand the mechanics of feeling stuck, you can dismantle them. Your mind created the loop, which means it also holds the power to break it. The real question isn't whether you can move forward. It's whether you're willing to challenge the fear, the uncertainty, and the false comfort that hold you back. Because in the end, the only thing truly keeping you stuck is the belief that you are. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Fear and Inaction. Fear is the invisible force that keeps you stuck, masquerading as logic, caution, or preparation. It convinces you that waiting is wise, that hesitation is responsible, that doing nothing is safer than making a mistake. But at its core, fear is nothing more than an avoidance mechanism. It feeds on uncertainty, making every decision feel like a potential disaster. The more you entertain fear's warnings, the more powerful it becomes, trapping you in a loop of self-doubt and inaction. Your brain isn't wired for risk, it's wired for survival. From an evolutionary standpoint, avoiding danger meant staying alive. But in modern life, danger isn't a lurking predator, it's the discomfort of failure, rejection, or change. Your mind registers these as threats, pushing you towards safety, even when safety means staying stuck in an unfulfilling job, a toxic relationship, or a life that no longer excites you. The problem is, fear doesn't always announce itself loudly. It often whispers, disguising itself as rational thoughts. You're not ready yet. You need more time. Wait until the circumstances are perfect. These excuses sound reasonable, which is why they are so dangerous. If you listen to them long enough, they become your reality. But if you step back and examine them, you'll realize that there is never a perfect time. Fear isn't protecting you, it's holding you hostage. One of fear's most powerful weapons is worst-case scenario thinking. Instead of imagining success, your mind fixates on failure. You replay every possible negative outcome, convincing yourself that taking action is too risky. But here's the truth. Most of the fears that paralyze you are exaggerated. The catastrophic failure you envision is unlikely, and even if things don't go as planned, you are far more capable of handling challenges than you believe. The real danger isn't failure. It's regret. People who let fear dictate their choices often look back and realize they were their own greatest obstacle. They see the chances they didn't take, the opportunities they let pass, the time they wasted waiting for certainty. Fear didn't protect them from failure, it only prevented them from growing. And the longer you let fear control your decisions, the stronger it becomes, reinforcing the false belief that you are incapable of handling the unknown. Overcoming fear doesn't mean eliminating it. Fear will always exist, but it doesn't have to control you. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't fearlessness, it's action. The most successful people in the world aren't immune to fear, they've simply trained themselves to move forward despite it. They understand that fear is just a mental construct, not an actual barrier. The first step to dismantling fear is exposure. The more you face what scares you, the weaker its grip becomes. Start small. Take one action today that makes you uncomfortable. Fear loses its power when confronted regularly. The second step is to reframe failure. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid, view it as progress. Every failure is proof that you tried, and trying is always better than standing still. The third step is to shift your focus. Stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I succeed?" Your mind follows your attention. If you constantly expect failure, you will find reasons to avoid action. If you train yourself to focus on potential success, you will become more willing to take risks. Inaction is not protection, it's suffocation. Fear is not a solid wall, it's an illusion. And the only way to make it disappear is to walk through it. The moment you take action, you reclaim control. You are not stuck because you lack the ability to move forward. You are stuck because you have convinced yourself that you can't. But beliefs can be rewritten. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. Readiness comes from action. The only way to break free is to stop waiting and start moving. Chapter 3. The Clarity Trap. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is the belief that clarity must come before action. They tell themselves they need to figure everything out first, that they can't move forward until the perfect plan reveals itself. They wait for a moment when the path will be obvious, the uncertainty will vanish, and they'll finally know exactly what to do. But that moment never comes. Clarity isn't something you find before action, it's something you create through action. Waiting for clarity leads to endless overthinking. You analyze every option, weigh every possibility, and try to predict every outcome. The more you think, the less certain you feel. Instead of gaining confidence, you become paralyzed, convincing yourself that you need more time. But clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. The longer you wait, the harder decisions become. Instead of focusing on the next step, you try to map out the entire journey before taking the first move. This is why so many people hesitate to start something new. They believe they need to see the full picture before they begin. But this is an illusion. No one ever has all the answers in the beginning. The only way to figure out what works is to take a step and adjust as you go. Uncertainty isn't the enemy, it's part of growth. Every breakthrough, transformation, and moment of progress comes with some level of uncertainty. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who move forward is how they respond to it. The stuck see uncertainty as a reason to wait. The successful see it as a challenge to embrace. At its core, the clarity trap is fueled by fear, the fear of making the wrong choice, wasting time, or regretting a decision later. But the only truly wrong choice is making no choice at all. Indecision wastes time. Inaction breeds regret. Even if you choose the wrong path, you will learn something valuable. Often the only way to discover the right path is by first eliminating the wrong ones. There is no perfect plan, no decision that comes with a guarantee of success. But every action provides feedback. Every step forward, no matter how small, gives you new information. You learn what works, what doesn't, and what feels right. Over time, this feedback builds the clarity you were waiting for. The people who seem most certain about their direction didn't start that way. They started in uncertainty, took action anyway, and found clarity along the way. The way to break free from the clarity trap is simple. Stop thinking and start moving. Take one small action today, even if you're unsure. Set deadlines for decisions instead of debating them endlessly. Give yourself permission to be wrong, to make mistakes, and to course correct as needed. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need a flawless plan. You just need to take the next step. Clarity isn't a prerequisite for action, it's the result of it. The only way to find your path is to start walking. The longer you wait, the deeper you sink into stagnation. But the moment you move, no matter how small the step, you begin to create the clarity you've been searching for. The choice is yours: stay stuck in endless waiting, or take action and let clarity find you. Chapter 4. The Illusion of Comfort. Comfort is one of the most deceptive forces keeping you stuck. It convinces you that where you are is safer than where you could be, that the known, no matter how unfulfilling, is better than the uncertainty of change. Even when you feel restless, even when you crave more, comfort makes you hesitate. It whispers that the unknown is risky, that taking a chance could lead to regret, that it's easier to stay put. But this is an illusion. Comfort isn't the absence of struggle, it's often just a familiar kind of dissatisfaction you've learned to live with. The brain is wired to seek stability, equating predictability with security. Even if your current situation isn't making you happy, it feels safe because it's familiar. Your mind warns you that change is a threat, not because it actually is, but because it disrupts what it knows. This is why people stay in jobs they dislike, relationships that drain them, and routines that leave them uninspired. The fear of discomfort is often stronger than the discomfort itself. What makes comfort so dangerous is that it disguises itself as contentment. It makes you believe that things are good enough, that wanting more is unnecessary or even selfish. But deep down you know the truth. You feel it in moments of quiet, in the restless energy that tells you there's more for you. Yet you remain where you are, not because you don't desire change, but because change demands stepping into the unknown. The reality is that growth never happens inside the boundaries of comfort. Every breakthrough, every transformation, and every moment of real progress happens just beyond what feels easy. Confidence, resilience, and success are all built in discomfort. The life you want, the one that excites you, challenges you, and fulfills you, exists on the other side of what feels safe. The fear of leaving comfort often stems from the belief that change must be overwhelming. You picture worst-case scenarios, convincing yourself that taking a risk could unravel everything. But change doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't require you to abandon everything overnight. It starts with small, intentional actions, choosing discomfort in tiny doses, until it becomes a normal part of life. Breaking free from the illusion of comfort requires challenging it daily. If something scares you, it's often the very thing you need to do. If a decision feels difficult, it's usually a sign that it will lead to growth. Identify one area where comfort is keeping you stagnant, then take one small action that moves you beyond it. Speak up in a meeting, set a boundary, try something new, start a project you've been avoiding. The goal isn't to be fearless or perfect. The goal is to move forward. As you begin stepping outside of your comfort zone, your tolerance for uncertainty grows. What once felt intimidating starts to feel normal. You realize that discomfort isn't something to escape, it's something to embrace. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you rewire your brain. You teach yourself that uncertainty isn't dangerous, that you are capable of handling the unknown, and that real life happens outside the lines of familiarity. Staying comfortable won't make you happy. It won't bring you fulfillment, excitement, or purpose. It will only keep you exactly where you are. If you want more, you have to be willing to release the illusion that comfort equals safety. Because the truth is, the real risk isn't stepping into the unknown, it's staying exactly the same. The cost of comfort is your potential, and every moment you cling to it, you delay the life you were meant to live. The choice is yours: stay where it's safe, or step into what's possible. Chapter 5. Breaking the mental loops. Feeling stuck isn't just about external circumstances, it's a mental loop, a cycle of repetitive thoughts that keep you in place. You tell yourself the same stories, rehearse the same fears, and reinforce the same doubts. The more you replay these thoughts, the stronger they become, eventually feeling less like passing thoughts and more like reality. But they aren't reality, they're mental habits, and like any habit, they can be broken. Your brain follows the patterns it knows best. If you've spent months or years thinking, "I don't know what to do," or "what if I fail," your mind will continue presenting those thoughts automatically, not because they're true, but because they're familiar. Just as the brain can get stuck in negative loops, it can also be rewired to create new, productive ones. The key is to disrupt the cycle before it reinforces itself further. One of the biggest reasons people stay trapped in mental loops is because they mistake their thoughts for facts. But thoughts aren't facts, they're interpretations, assumptions, and often distortions. If you keep telling yourself, "I'm not ready," you will never feel ready. If you think, "I can't handle failure," you will avoid risk at all costs. The thought itself keeps you stuck, not the reality of your situation. Breaking these loops starts with awareness. You have to recognize the specific thoughts that are keeping you trapped. Instead of passively accepting them, start questioning them. Ask yourself, "Is this thought helping me?" If it isn't, replace it with one that does. If your mind tells you, "I don't know what to do," shift it to, "What small step can I take right now?" If it tells you, "I'm not good enough," counter it with evidence of times you've succeeded. Another way to break mental loops is through action. Overthinking thrives on inaction. The longer you wait, the more resistance your mind builds. You have to interrupt the cycle by moving. Any movement is better than none. If you're stuck in indecision, make a choice. If you're paralyzed by fear, take one small step toward what scares you. If you're doubting yourself, prove yourself wrong by doing something productive. Action disrupts the thought cycle and builds momentum. It's also essential to reduce the triggers that reinforce mental loops. If you constantly consume negative information, compare yourself to others, or surround yourself with people who reinforce your doubts, your brain will stay stuck in the same patterns. Instead, expose yourself to things that challenge your mindset in a positive way. Read something that inspires you, engage in activities that make you feel capable, and surround yourself with people who push you to grow. A simple but powerful technique to break mental loops is to change your physical state. The mind and body are deeply connected, and when you feel stuck mentally, movement can create an instant shift. Go for a walk, stretch, exercise, or even change your environment. Moving physically sends a signal to your brain that you are no longer stagnant. Even small physical actions can create a noticeable shift in your mental state. Breaking mental loops doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of consistently choosing new thoughts and actions. Some days you'll slip into old patterns, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's persistence. Every time you challenge a limiting belief or take an action despite fear, you weaken the loop that keeps you stuck. You are not trapped by reality. You are trapped by the stories you tell yourself about reality. But stories can be rewritten. The mental loops that once held you back can be replaced with patterns of confidence, action, and progress. The key is to stop waiting for change and start creating it. Your thoughts don't control you unless you let them. Choose to take control. Chapter 6. Shifting from why to what. When people feel stuck, their first instinct is to ask why. Why am I not moving forward? Why can't I figure this out? Why do I always feel this way? These questions seem logical, but they don't create momentum. Instead, they keep you trapped in analysis, searching for explanations instead of solutions. The more you ask why, the more tangled you become in your own thoughts. If you want to break free, you must shift from why to what. Asking why keeps you focused on the problem. It forces you to look backward, searching for reasons rather than possibilities. It often leads to self-blame, frustration, and more confusion. Even if you uncover the root cause, whether it's fear, self-doubt, or perfectionism, what then? Understanding why you're stuck doesn't automatically help you move forward. Only action does. Shifting to what forces your mind to look ahead. Instead of dwelling on why you feel stuck, you start focusing on what you can do next. This small shift is powerful. It moves you from passivity to proactivity, pulling you out of overthinking and directing your energy toward movement. Instead of asking, "Why am I afraid?" ask, "What is one small step I can take despite the fear?" Instead of wondering, "Why do I procrastinate?" ask, "What is the first task I can complete right now?" The difference may seem subtle, but it is transformative. Your brain thrives on action. The longer you remain in analysis mode, the more stuck you feel. But the moment you take action, no matter how small, your brain starts to shift. You move from uncertainty to progress. Each action builds momentum, reinforcing the belief that you are capable. This doesn't mean self-reflection has no value. Understanding your emotions, fears, and thought patterns can be useful, but only if it leads to action. If reflection helps you create a plan, it's productive. If it only leads to hesitation, it's keeping you stuck. The only way to truly gain clarity is to start doing. When you catch yourself stuck in a loop of why, interrupt it immediately. Pause and reframe the question into what. If you feel lost, don't ask, "Why don't I have direction?" Instead, ask, "What is one thing I am curious about that I can explore today?" If you feel overwhelmed, don't ask, "Why is everything so hard?" Instead, ask, "What is one thing I can simplify right now?" This simple shift moves your focus from problems to solutions. The key is to act on the answers. Once you identify what to do, do it. Even if it feels insignificant, even if you're unsure whether it's the right step, take it. Progress isn't about certainty, it's about movement. The more you act, the clearer your path becomes. The more clarity you gain, the easier it is to take the next step. Many people stay stuck because they believe they need to have the entire path figured out before they begin. But the truth is, you only need to know the next step. Action reveals the path. No one starts with all the answers. They start with a decision to move forward. You don't need permission to change. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You only need to ask yourself, "What is one thing I can do today?" Then do it. The sooner you shift from why to what, the sooner you break free. The only thing standing between you and progress is the choice to start. Chapter 7. Expanding your comfort zone. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you are not challenging yourself, you are not growing. But the mind craves familiarity, convincing you that staying where you are is safer than stepping into the unknown. Even when you feel unfulfilled, even when you know change is necessary, your mind resists. It whispers that waiting is better, that the familiar is safer, that discomfort should be avoided. But comfort is not security, it is stagnation disguised as safety. Many people believe breaking free requires drastic change, but this isn't true. Expanding your comfort zone isn't about forcing yourself into overwhelming situations. It's about making small, intentional shifts, training yourself to handle discomfort in doses until it becomes normal. The more often you step beyond your limits, the more adaptable you become. What once felt impossible begins to feel routine. Fear is the barrier that keeps you trapped. It tells you that new experiences are risky, that mistakes will be embarrassing, that failure will define you. But fear doesn't disappear by avoiding it, it shrinks when you face it. The first time you try something new, resistance is strong. The second time, fear is weaker. The third time, it's almost gone. The only way to eliminate fear is to prove to yourself, again and again, that you can handle it. The best way to expand your comfort zone is through micro-challenges, small, manageable actions that push you just beyond what feels easy. If public speaking makes you anxious, start by speaking up in a small group. If rejection holds you back, challenge yourself to ask for something you normally wouldn't. If you fear failure, commit to trying something new without the pressure of perfection. The goal isn't instant mastery, it's building tolerance for uncertainty. Exposure rewires your brain. When you repeatedly face discomfort, your mind stops seeing it as a threat and begins to adapt. This is why successful people seem fearless. They aren't. They've simply conditioned themselves to take action despite discomfort. They understand that discomfort isn't an obstacle, it's the price of growth. The biggest mistake people make is waiting to feel ready. They believe confidence must come first. But confidence doesn't create action. Action creates confidence. The only way to expand your comfort zone is to move before you feel prepared. The moment you take the first step, fear loses its power. The moment you stop hesitating, progress begins. Your environment influences your willingness to step outside your comfort zone. If you surround yourself with people who avoid challenges, you will do the same. But if you surround yourself with those who embrace growth, you will be inspired to do the same. Choose to be around those who push themselves, take risks, and challenge their limits. Their mindset will become your mindset. Progress isn't about giant leaps, it's about consistent movement. Each time you push a little further, your comfort zone expands. What once felt intimidating becomes second nature. What once seemed impossible becomes achievable. The goal isn't to eliminate fear but to act despite it. You have two choices: stay where you are or step into what is possible. The comfort zone will always feel safe, but nothing meaningful happens inside it. The only way to create the life you want is to keep expanding, keep pushing, keep choosing growth. The discomfort you fear today is the strength you build tomorrow. The only way to break free is to take the first step, again and again. Chapter 8. The 48-hour rule in action. Procrastination keeps people stuck. Ideas come and go, opportunities appear, and bursts of motivation strike. Yet instead of acting, hesitation takes over. You tell yourself you'll do it later, when the timing is better, when you feel more confident, when you have more clarity. But later rarely comes. The longer you wait, the more resistance builds, and what once felt exciting turns into something overwhelming. This is why action must be immediate. The 48-hour rule is a simple but powerful strategy to break hesitation. It states that whenever you have an idea, an opportunity, or a desire to make a change, you must take action within 48 hours. The action doesn't need to be big. It only needs to move you forward. The goal isn't instant success but momentum, getting started before doubt takes over. Your brain prioritizes efficiency. The more you delay, the more your brain labels the action as unimportant. This is why people forget their best ideas or lose enthusiasm for their goals. When inspiration strikes, it must be acted on quickly, or it fades. The 48-hour rule prevents this by forcing you to transition from thinking to doing before resistance builds. Action doesn't mean completing the goal instantly, it means making progress in any form. If you want to start a business, action could mean researching a domain name or reaching out to a mentor. If you want to improve your health, it could mean scheduling a workout or preparing a healthy meal. If you want to develop a skill, it could mean signing up for a class or watching a tutorial. The key is to do something concrete. Thinking about action doesn't count, only movement does. The reason this works is because action fuels more action. Taking even a small step shifts your energy. It creates a sense of progress, no matter how minor. That progress builds confidence, and confidence sparks the desire to keep going. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel manageable. Many people wait for motivation before acting, but motivation is unreliable. It fluctuates with mood, energy, and circumstances. The mistake is believing that you need motivation to start. The truth is, action creates motivation, not the other way around. The moment you take even the smallest step, your brain recognizes progress, which fuels more motivation. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to begin. A common excuse is a lack of time. But the 48-hour rule doesn't require large time commitments. It only requires movement. If something truly matters, you can find a few minutes to take action. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who move forward isn't talent or resources, it's their willingness to act immediately rather than wait. Accountability strengthens the 48-hour rule. Tell someone what you plan to do, write it down, set a reminder, make it a non-negotiable commitment. The more external reinforcement you create, the harder it becomes to let hesitation win. Tracking your actions helps too. Keep a record of every small step you take. This builds evidence that you follow through, reinforcing your belief in your ability to take action. You don't need to change everything overnight. You only need to stop waiting. The next time you feel the pull towards something, act on it within 48 hours. The longer you delay, the more likely you are to stay stuck. The only way to break free is to move forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. Momentum is built in moments, and those moments start now. Chapter 9. Overcoming setbacks and resistance. Setbacks are inevitable. No matter how much progress you make, obstacles will appear. You will face moments of doubt, frustration, and disappointment. Some days progress will feel slow. Other times you may wonder if real change is even possible. The mistake most people make is believing that setbacks mean failure. But setbacks are not the problem is how you respond to them. Most people assume progress should be a straight line, but it never is. Growth is unpredictable. It comes with highs and lows, moments of confidence and moments of struggle. The key is to expect setbacks, not fear them. When you accept that obstacles are part of the process, they lose their power over you. Instead of seeing them as reasons to stop, you begin to view them as opportunities to adjust, learn, and keep going. Resistance often shows up when you are closest to a breakthrough. The moment you start making progress, your mind fights back. It tries to pull you into old habits, fears, and patterns of thinking. This happens because change disrupts familiarity, and the brain craves stability. Even when the change is positive, your subconscious will resist it. The more aware you are of this pattern, the easier it is to push through. One of the most common forms of resistance is self-doubt. You may begin questioning whether you are capable, whether your efforts are worth it, or whether you even deserve success. These thoughts feel real, but they are not. They are echoes of past fears and limiting beliefs. The way to break through self-doubt is not to wait for it to disappear, it is to take action despite it. Confidence does not come from eliminating doubt. It comes from proving to yourself, over and over again, that you can handle challenges. External obstacles are another form of resistance. Life will get in the way. Unexpected responsibilities, negative feedback, or unsupportive people may try to pull you off track. When this happens, remind yourself why you started. Anchor yourself in the deeper reason behind your actions. Obstacles can slow you down, but they do not have to stop you. The only way to truly fail is to quit. One of the best ways to overcome setbacks is to shift your mindset from perfection to persistence. Many people believe they must get everything right from the start. When they hit a challenge, they assume they are not meant to succeed. But setbacks are not proof that you are failing, they are proof that you are trying. If you are moving, you are progressing, even if it does not always feel like it. Reframing failure is essential. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of it. Every mistake, misstep, and challenge is teaching you something. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Every person who has ever achieved something great has also experienced failure. The difference is that they did not let it define them. They used it as fuel to keep going. Momentum is built through consistency, not perfection. If you fall off track, do not wait for the perfect moment to restart, get back up immediately. The faster you recover from setbacks, the easier it becomes to keep moving. If you miss a day, start again the next. If you make a mistake, learn from it and adjust. What matters is not whether you stumble. What matters is that you refuse to stay down. You have two choices when setbacks appear. You can let them discourage you, or you can let them strengthen you. The people who move forward are not the ones who never struggle, they are the ones who never stop. No matter how difficult the journey gets, you always have a choice. Keep going. The only way out is through. Chapter 10. Creating long-term change. Breaking free from feeling stuck isn't just about short-term progress, it's about creating lasting transformation. Many people experience bursts of motivation, take action for a while, and then fall back into old habits. This happens because change isn't a one-time event, it's a process that must be reinforced daily. The key to lasting transformation isn't intensity, it's consistency. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a short time and underestimate what they can accomplish over months or years. They expect immediate results and get discouraged when progress feels slow, but real change happens through small, repeated actions. It's not about making one big move. It's about making deliberate choices over and over again until they become second nature. One of the most powerful drivers of lasting change is identity. Instead of focusing only on what you want to do, focus on who you want to become. If you want to be a confident person, act like one, even before you fully believe it. If you want to be disciplined, make choices that align with that identity. The more you reinforce a new identity, the easier it becomes to sustain the habits that support it. Your environment plays a crucial role in long-term change. If you're surrounded by people, habits, or situations that pull you back into old patterns, progress will always feel like an uphill battle. Set yourself up for success by creating an environment that supports your growth. If you want to read more, place books where you can see them. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your home. If you want to stay focused, eliminate distractions. Your surroundings influence your behavior more than willpower alone. Accountability strengthens commitment. When you keep your goals to yourself, it's easy to let them slip. But when you share them with someone, track your progress, or set external deadlines, you increase your chances of following through. Find ways to hold yourself accountable. Join a group, work with a mentor, or even just keep a journal where you document your actions. Seeing your progress builds momentum and reinforces your belief in your ability to follow through. Momentum is built through repetition. The hardest part of change is starting. But once you begin, each action makes the next one easier. The more you show up for yourself, the stronger your habits become. Eventually, what once felt difficult becomes automatic. The goal isn't to rely on motivation but to create systems that make success inevitable. Expect resistance along the way. There will be days when you don't feel like taking action. There will be moments when progress feels slow or when setbacks make you question everything. These moments don't mean you're failing. They're simply part of the process. The key is to keep moving forward, even when it feels difficult. Success isn't about never struggling, it's about never quitting. Reevaluate and adjust as needed. Growth isn't a straight line. Your goals may evolve, your circumstances may change, and your approach may need refinement. Stay flexible. If something isn't working, adjust it instead of abandoning it. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never change direction. They're the ones who keep moving, no matter what. The final step in creating long-term change is to stop seeing transformation as a destination. There's no point where you have it all figured out. Growth is a lifelong journey. Every step brings new challenges, new insights, and new opportunities. The goal isn't to reach perfection, it's to keep progressing, to keep pushing yourself, and to keep evolving. You are not the same person you were when you started this journey. You've challenged your fears, expanded your comfort zone, and taken action despite uncertainty. The only thing left to do is keep going. The only real failure is stopping. Choose growth. Choose action. Choose to move forward no matter what. Your future is created by what you do today. Keep building it. Take care and be well.